President Trump's 1-year anniversary. It's coming back to office. He has done a ton, and there's a lot of stories out there about the first year back. But let's just very quickly go through a few things. We'll talk. Each of you can pick sort of biggest impact, biggest surprise, if there is any. Personnel, winner and loser from the admin, and what's coming. So we'll do a quick round here on this. Biggest impact, Dan, we'll start with you.
What he did to close the southern border without Congress is amazing, and he deserves. It is historic. What he did. Even Bernie Sanders and Hakeem Jeffries have said it.
It was mine as well. That was mine as well. I mean, he makes the point all the time that President Joe Biden, when he was president, was always like, oh, Congress needs to pass a bill. And he says, you didn't need Congress to pass a bill. You just need a new president. And
you need a will.
Like, perfect example of his greatest achievement so far, I'd say. Sean, what's yours?
Since you guys both right
you agree.
Border, I would agree, but I want to be new. So I will say the impact that the MAHA agenda has had on America in terms of wellness and health and recalibrating our relationship with big food and big pharma is obviously massive. And he doesn't get enough credit for this, but the idea that a Kennedy Democrat is in his cabinet is actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Biggest surprise, Dan.
I think how much he is active on the foreign policy, like meaningfully active. I would have never thought that we would do something like we did in Venezuela. I can see the pinprick strikes to take out a terrorist or whatever. But, color me skeptical that in November of 24, I thought we're going to take out Maduro and try to take Greenland and basically blow up NATO.
Sean?
The thing that fascinates me is whether you are a huge MAGA Trump supporter or the biggest hater, you have to be willing to accept the fact that when you look at what he campaigned on, he followed up. He kept his word. I mean, tariffs, the southern border, ICE, all of these things he talked about and he's doing. He's not doing the typical Washington weaselly, mealy mouth. Here's why I couldn't get it done. He's doing it. What to me is fascinating is with all of that, any politician that could say, if I could get all of these things promised, what would happen? Most people would say, God, your approval rating would be sky high and all this. And what I think that to me is amazing is the disconnect between the accomplishments, what he's gotten done, big, beautiful bill, all this, and where he stands. Not with Democrats, but with independents.
Yeah. For me, biggest surprise was definitely the Iran strike. I mean, I remember I had written just a week before a story sort of fleshing out all of the MAGA voices who were like, do not do this. Whether it was like Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk at the time, Jack Posobiec, Steve Bannon. And President Trump is like, I define what is America first, and I define that this is in our interest. And he did it. And sure enough, the base, lined up right behind him. But I really didn't think he would do something like that. So that was my surprise. Personnel, winner and loser. Just do both at the same time, I think. Let's go, Dan.
I'm going to say Susie Wiles, just because the way that the ship has run very, very tightly and well. In the big picture, in a vacuum, it's run well. Considering, Sean can speak to this, and Rachel, you can better than I can, but just the Shark Tank that is Trump world, she ran a great campaign along with others, but I am surprised. I'm surprised that they have governed this well.
Loser?
Oh, you want me to say loser too?
Actually, that's fine. Let's go to Sean first on winner. Go ahead.
Sure.
I agree with Dan, but I'll go back to my same thing. I think and there's a lot. I mean, like each of them niche wise, what Lee Zeldin's done at EPA or Sean Duffy's done at transportation, or what Pete's done. But like, I do think that, again, going back to like actually making a lasting impact, what Bobby has done at HHS is going to far last this administration. Like the dyes, the PFAS, the generally recognized as safe grass, like all of these things that Kennedy and the MAHA movement have done are going to well exceed the timeline of this administration going forward. So for that reason, I'll give him the win.
I'm going to say Marco Rubio, just because a lot of people thought he was a Republican from an era that was, sort of fading for a long time. And he is perhaps the most relevant cabinet secretary right now, arguably. I mean, very close with the president, great relationship with the inner circle. And nobody saw him as like, somebody who could fit in with MAGA world, and look at him. He's my winner. Loser, Dan.
Oh, I would probably say Kristi Noem. I think the days are, or actually, no, you know what? I'm going to change that because it's too obvious. I'm going to say, Pete Hegseth. I'm going to say, I think he has not, I think he has not advanced well, and I think history is going to treat him unkindly.
Oh, I'll disagree with that one, but I would have gone with your initial. So I just think that the thing about Noam that's disappointing is that it's the greatest signature accomplishment. Right. So we all can acknowledge, no matter where, I mean, Dan said it, even Hakeem Jeffries and Bernie, like everyone's acknowledging the president's success on closing the southern border and stopping illegal immigration. You would think that if you were the secretary that presided over that, you would be winning a ton of praise. And yet the sloppiness and horrible imagery that's coming out of that doesn't reflect well on her.
My loser, I'm going to say Elon Musk, because he only, was able to find about 200 billion instead of $2 trillion worth to cut of the federal government. Now, look, that goal was always very difficult. It was going to be an impossible mountain to climb. But I mean, I just think about the first few months of the administration when all the headlines centered around him, something controversial he said or did, and it often distracted from the things the administration want to talk about. One thing I will say, though, I mean, this notion of being able to fire federal workers, there's now precedent for that. And that is something that we've never seen before. And so that is an accomplishment for the administration in and of itself. I think it's less about Elon, though, and more about this admin being willing to get rid of federal workers without cause, which is what they did. So, okay, what's coming up next year? What are you watching very quickly? And then we'll move to questions.
I'm watching. I mean, Sean, you said you're surprised the poll numbers don't match the accomplishments. The one area he has just kind of not been great on is the economy. And I am watching to see if it starts to pick up steam by this spring. Because if it does not pick up steam with all these imageries and all these other problems, I mean, we always thought the map prohibited more than picking up 20 House seats and maybe 4 Senate seats. That could change.
Yeah, I take a different view on that. I mean, to me, as you know, like I feel like the economy is in the oven. They took all the ingredients last year, they put it in a pan, and they said, we hope this is the right for the, we'll pull it out in a few months. I believe that Q2, Q3, when it's going to matter, and it's done, like it's in the oven. So either you put the right ingredients in the pan or you didn't. I believe with all of the aspects of the big, beautiful bill, et cetera, that we'll be firing on all cylinders. I think to me, the biggest one is foreign policy. To Rachel's point about Iran, like this was not really part of the election construct. So what does all of this, whether it's Venezuela, Colombia, Greenland,
Canada,
like where does this all play out? Because that to me is the X factor. As I said, if you look at what he accomplished, what he said he would do, normally people would kill to run on that. But you now have this X factor that wasn't part of the equation.
What am I watching next year? If we have a new U.S. territory called Greenland, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the midterms are going to be the big thing next year. Traditionally, the party in power loses 24 seats in the midterms. So already they've got the structural headwinds coming against them. Can they sort of dig out of that with redistricting, which again, Supreme Court, Voting Rights Act, that's a big one to be watching.